Test, test, test. house tonight. Is that everybody?
Did the rain lift up?
A little bit, yeah. That started again, so thank you. Yeah.
Right. See what I can put up with?
Do I have to separate the two?
Yes. Yes. Jaime, okay. All right. Exciting.
To order. We'll start with a roll call.
Present.
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 All right, we're going to start with the acceptance of the journal. We'll start with the Journal of Proceedings for the Community Relations Commission held on April 10th, 2025. We have a motion to move forward with those. We have
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll then move on to the Journal of Proceedings for May 9th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We then will move on to the Journal for June 12th, 2025.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We do not have any public speakers tonight, but I do believe we have at least one of our community members here on the special forum. So just for those that want to chat with us about things that are going on, we do have some letters in front of us, and then there are some folks here. We will give you each 3 minutes in front of the microphone to tell us the issues that you're dealing with or things that you want us to know about. We'll give the commissioners 2 minutes each to kind of ask, or not 2 minutes each, sorry, 2 minutes total to ask questions, and then we'll go from there. So I know that there's some folks here that want to share with us about some water issues going on in their neighborhood. So if you guys want to come up first and stand behind the podium. The microphone is on, and can I have someone from the city time for us? If you all could give your names and then share whatever it is that you'd like to share with us.
My name is Cindy Hodiak,
And I'm Sue Milner.
and we live on Carriage Green in Rockford, and we have a water problem. We call it our Lake Carriage Green because it floods up to our garages and in some people's houses. This has been going on for the entire 10 years that I've been there, but it's slowly gotten worse, and I think our drainage is not capable of handling Sulky Lane that comes down. The rest of Carriage Green comes down to our cul-de-sac that's been cut out. We have Wagonette, we have Phaeton Place, and now we have Peterson Meadows, who has built up their new housing that they've built, which then has made a nice wall for that water to fall down into our subdivision. We are getting almost 3 feet of water that stands in that area, which then comes up to our houses. So the road comes down, our houses come up a little bit, and in that middle part, we can get about 3 feet of water. The water has eroded our driveways on the end. It is also eroding the drainage system all around that. It's caving in. The water, the fire hydrant that sits there, when the lake gets full, air starts coming up in big bubbles, which I'm kind of concerned that we might be getting a sinkhole forming underneath that. I don't know if that can happen, but it's kind of interesting that it does do that. It's just, you know, getting worse. Now that they've built those houses, it floods quicker. It floods down between our houses. It's just flooding all the way up to our garage, which one of our neighbors had a literal waterfall in his basement because it went through underneath his house, and it just made a huge waterfall. So I was hoping that, you know, you guys, somebody might be able to check into this, and there's just not enough drainage.
One time when it happened, we had to call the fire department because somebody was in their car and they had a broken leg and they couldn't get out of the car. So the fireman had to tie on the street pole a rope and to himself, because it was that deep. It was like up to the waist, and pull this guy out of his car. So it's not a little bit of water, it's a lot of water.
It's 3 feet of water, and it's a big lake. It's at least the size of this room, if not bigger. But last summer, when we had a downfall that caused it to flood, somebody drove their car into it, and in front of my house, then as you can see where the car lights underneath the water, because it just, people don't realize that it's as deep as it is, and so they just think they can pass through, but you can't pass through it.
Up to the windows in the cars.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
How long has that been going on?
Years.
Yeah, at least since I've been there for 10 years, it's happened, and it happens at least once, maybe twice through the summers.
Like probably today.
I was going to say, what do you think it's going to look like today with this big downpour?
It's already flooded.
It's already
Because one
flooded.
of our neighbors texted us and said it's already flooding.
And
Which ward is this?
yeah,
Oh, I know I put it in.
What's the address?
6337.
Yeah.
Carriage Green Way.
Where are you sitting at?
So when we received this email, that kicked in. When we received this email, I went ahead and I forwarded this over to our friends over in Public Works to take a look at this issue. First things first, the first question that I asked them was if this is something that is consistently happening. Is this something that we've received a report on? And they searched their records and they haven't received any complaints to the city of this issue. But they went ahead and they took a look at it. They sent a couple of inspectors out yesterday to review the situation. They took a look. There appears to be a drainage basin that's back behind near the area that is designed to catch the rainfall from these larger outpourings, these larger incidents. It says there's a 24-inch drain pipe that goes from the cul-de-sac over that drainage basin. So they took a look at it, and they didn't see really any obstructions on that drainage basin. They took a look at the manhole and the inlets for the water, and they haven't seen any obstructions, but that doesn't mean that there's not anything there. They did inform me that they're going to set up some monitoring in the area, so they're going to take a look at it, and during regular rain events, if they see that pooling happening again, they're going to go ahead and scope the tunnel to make sure that there isn't anything in that area. But we shot this email over to Public Works, and they're going to keep an eye on it for you already.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Just a comment that I'd urge you to reach out to your alderman, make sure that they're aware of it, and they can be your advocate
Okay.
as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the audience that wants to speak to the commission? If not, we do have a few letters that we have received. So I will just kind of read through those, and then we'll pause and see if there's anything that we would like to do with those. So the first one we have is from Jennifer. It says, thank you for allowing us to make suggestions to improve our wonderful city. For now, I have 3 that I would like to put forth. We need to add more lighting to East State Street. If you exit the interstate at night and head into town on East State Street at the beginning, there are some lights, but it quickly gets very dark. Since this is most people's entrance to Rockford, wouldn't it be nice if we had a little bit more welcoming and lit up? It is especially noticeable if you come in from Chicago, where almost the entire interstate is lit up between Chicago and Rockford. Goes on to say that, for that matter, a few years ago, the city did away with the number of streetlights across the city. Perhaps it's time to rethink that as well. The other suggestion is I think we need to have street and gutter sweeping more often. I was told that it's 2 times a year. I'm pretty sure our street often gets missed. To make matters worse, at the end of my block, there are 4 sewer drains. They constantly get blocked up with leaves, sticks, and debris. Then, of course, they don't let the water drain when it rains. I probably go down twice a month to clear them out. I don't mind helping the city some, but this needs to be addressed. Also goes on to say the city should think about requiring shoveling in the winter. Any thoughts from commissioners?
I actually have a comment on this
Yeah.
particular piece of road.
Sure.
And I've brought it up to other people before. I don't know what decisions we make on what paint we use when we stripe our streets, but when it rains like this and it's dark, you can't tell what lane you're in on State Street. So I'd add that to his complaint if I were adding.
I think this is super, especially number one, is super legitimate comment, and I thank her for making the point, because, I mean, we want to be a welcoming city, right? The sign right there says we're a welcoming city, so we really should, the lighting should reflect that.
Brother Chair, I think that we should look at the city's plan on lighting, because I know we're talking about the east side, but the west side has been black for the longest. So I think we need to look at what's the plan in relationship to lighting throughout the entire city.
I've also, on previous occasions, recommended there are a lot of solar Cobra head lights. And I know one of the big issues is the electricity, the installation, all of that. What we went through getting street lights on the Miracle Mile took us years. I think we need to seriously look at the Cobra head solar lights so that we don't have any installation other than the pole.
Also, Brother Chair, for number 2, is it true, maybe this is a question for city, it would probably be for Public Works, but is it true that the street sweepers only come out twice a year?
I'm going to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I think she said 3, but even with your lighting questions too, it's sounding like maybe we need to have a session with Public Works here.
Right.
And, so I'm writing notes for Scott Sanders, the director, and maybe he could bring Mitch, who's our streets division, that would be looking at lighting and cleaning and a number of the issues that we're talking about here today. So, yeah, I could talk with Scott about that.
Thank you.
And I guess my question for city staff, I know that we all receive these. Have all of these emails been sent to city leadership that would be handling these issues?
I don't believe all of them have, but I do have answers for most of them.
Okay.
With this one in particular, we did go ahead and forward this email over to Public Works again. A couple of things to address. First things first, yes, the street sweepers do make the rounds twice per year. The issue that this person brought up, the response that I have from one of the individuals in Public Works that would handle this kind of issue, the issue that she brought up about the street and gutter sweeping and the items that are blocking the drain, they took a look at this one as well. Unfortunately, the bottom of the hill where this person was complaining about this particular drain is an area where debris collects, so it's not surprising if they get blocked. There is an adopt a drain program that residents can consider if they want to. There's a link that the person sent over to me that I can happily forward around to all the directors or the commissioners here. But if these individuals want to get involved in the adopt a drain program, I believe that there are some resources that Public Works has for that particular program as well. And then for this last item about requiring shoveling in the winter, I do believe that there's a city ordinance that requires any commercial structure with a sidewalk or any portion of it that is offered to public use is required to be shoveled, but I do not believe that we have that same requirement in a residential area.
I actually have the ordinance open right now, and it says the owner or occupier of each lot or part of lot, improved or unimproved, to which the general public is invited, shall remove all snow and ice by noon the day after the snow. So.
And I believe that currently the interpretation is, the public invitation portion indicates that it's either a commercial or industrial area, not necessarily for residential use.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was too. Could we clarify that for the next time? I would love to.
I'll take-
I
yeah.
always thought the residences were required, that it wasn't necessarily enforced, but no, huh?
So it's the issue is whether or not the individual is inviting the public onto their land for use. In the commercial or industrial setting, obviously that's pretty blatant that they're reaching out and saying, hey, come talk to us, come use our parking lot, come use our sidewalk so that you can purchase things from us. The same argument can't really be made in a residential area where any random person can just be meandering down the sidewalk because it's a public sidewalk and everybody has a right to use it. So unless you're doing something where you're intentionally inviting people onto your property for public use, the enforcement of that ordinance would be a little bit tricky.
So I have a question. If I walk down the sidewalk and slip and fall on the unshoveled snow, who's liable? Is it the city or is it the owner?
I do not have the answer to that question immediately available, but I can take a look at it and see what information I can provide you.
That might be something we want to take a look at, because I'm thinking even from the disability perspective, right? We have folks who are older adults and folks with disabilities who have, children going to school who have to use our sidewalks because they don't have transportation that is accessible to them. If we aren't requiring those to be cleared by anyone, we're creating barriers for our residents. Maybe something we want to take a look at.
Which means we're not welcome.
Right. Getting back to that welcoming conversation, right? Okay. Any other comments on that letter? Okay. The next one I will go to is from Ariane. It says, my name is Ariane, and I've moved to Rockford almost 2 years ago. I've come to love this city in ways I've never expected. The amount of nature and life here is amazing and beautiful. Waking up to Northern Cardinals, strolling down to Japanese Gardens, reading at the library on North Wyman. These are all things I've come to cherish. I would love to share this peaceful way of living to a little in Rockford, but when I look up the nearest Big Brother, Big Sister program, I'm met with a map full of them that are at least an hour away from our big city. You may know, more than me, how much our youth of the city needs role models. The drug and alcohol epidemic, gang and street violence, generational traumas that keep children stuck in the same rigged cycle may have a chance of not ruining the child's life with the implementation of healthy adult in their life to show them there is a way, an honest, healthier, cleaner way. A Big Brother, Big Sister program would be a great way to strengthen our children. Strengthening our generation is crucial, especially with these uncertain times of ever-advancing technology, inflated pricing, poor education system. The children will become our future doctors, lawyers, but also future criminals, homeless, and needy, truth be. If we do our part now, we can help them do better later. So what do you say? Big Brothers, Big Sisters sounds beneficial to our population, over 100,000. I'd say yes, by a landslide. Again, any comments related to Big Brothers, Big Sisters?
There are many programs at our local community centers that are Big Brother and Big Sister related. They did have one at the Y prior, and I know that it was discontinued because there were so many other avenues that are being addressed in Rockford area.
I was going to say, I hope the person who wrote this letter is watching this meeting tonight, because we're about to hear results of regrow that many of the programs we're about to hear about directly relate to the issues that she raises.
And I'm happy to reach directly out to this individual after the meeting and share with them whatever resources are best for them. All right, we have one more from Karen. It says, I'm unable to attend the open forum, but there are 2 issues I'd like to present. I want approval to have up to 3 chickens. No roosters, just egg-laying chickens to help offset the cost of food. I want to support this by saying that nearly every municipality in Northern Illinois, including Chicago, allows individuals to keep some chickens. This can generate revenue as it can be taxed or require permits. Also goes on to say, I would like to have a noise ordinance for vehicles. I live across the street from Westview Elementary School, and virtually every hour of every day, and most nights as well, we've experienced very loud vehicles with very loud music playing. The music is so loud, it both hurts our ears and rattles our windows. One window is cracking due to the excessive noise. These loud music playing individuals pass my home at night, frankly, all night, and I'm tired of my eardrums popping and my windows rattling because of these individuals. Tired of being awakened at all hours of the day and night because these people cannot hear their music unless it's set to the very loudest volume possible. Please institute a noise restriction minimally after 10 p.m., but preferably, please consider a noise ordinance preventing these loud music playing individuals from damaging my hearing and my home.
I can go ahead and chime in right off the bat. City Ordinance Section 17-27 involves the nuisance noise in operation of certain vehicles, indicates that any motor vehicle on a public way should not be able to be heard, the sound system should not be able to be heard from more than 75 feet away. So that ordinance does exist, and police officers should be able to enforce that if it is such a dramatic problem.
Yeah, they would want to call the non-emergency number for police, or they can use our complaint portal. That is something that I think they can put in there. And then we have to observe the noise, so we'd have to know about it so that we have police there to observe it, or however we're going to take care of that, and then we can act on it. So it is important to get it in the official system, one of the two, and then we can follow up on for people.
Can we have someone from the city reach out to this individual and share that information? So that they know?
I do not recall if I have already responded to this email or not, but we had this information immediately available.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then in regards to the chickens, I know the chickens were discussed by City Council, I believe, less than a year ago at this point, and City Council said no. Not saying that that's not something that can be revisited, but it was something that was discussed by City Council already.
We also wanted to bring it to your guys' attention, since that's the way that these emails were intended to be received, and then get your guidance and feedback, plus with city leadership, and then we'll be responding after the commission meeting. I felt that that was most appropriate. If you'd like us to do that differently in the future, I'm absolutely happy to do that. Just let me know how you'd like us to address those types of emails, but I thought it would make sense. They wanted it to be shared with you all, and then your feedback, and that's how we would respond to the emails.
I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think it's personally fine that we're reaching out afterwards. I just want to make sure that if we have answers for them, that we're providing them with those answers.
Absolutely.
Quick question, clarification. The procedure on these then, when, and apparently it's after the fact, which, is fine and perhaps a separate topic, but the aldermen in these wards should be copied on these as well, because that, I would think the alderman needs to be proactive and reach out to these folks and let them know. And I'll just offer a real quick aside. Had a very loud 4th of July in my neighborhood, and I did reach out to Alderman Thunberg, and he was very prompt and complete in his response with me, and we had a long conversation. And I would just encourage our residents to develop, relationships with their aldermen, and perhaps, this could be proactive. This kind of letter could be proactive in terms of developing those relationships.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And I do want to mention, it's not that we didn't respond to them. I thanked them for their email. I let them know that it was going to be read in, but the response to their, what's going on, their situation, their concerns, is going to come from you guys after this meeting. We did respond to every single email. I don't want you to think that we didn't respond.
No, I can tell you all, I've responded to a few as well. They've all received acknowledgement. Now it's just us responding with what we can do as a city to support their need.
And also, Brother Chair, I think that we should just direct the community to the alderman.
Yes.
So that they can fulfill those obligations. I was actually on chaplaincy duty on the 4th. And majority of all the calls that came through the radio were because of fireworks, et cetera, going on, and they were responding to them. So I think we should direct the community to the aldermen for those type of issues and see if they can resolve them in that manner. So,
thank you. Any other thoughts on those? That is the end of our public forum. That is all of the letters we received and all of the community members who wanted to join us. So now we will move on to the information only regrow report.
All right. Well, hello. Good evening. Nice to see you all again. I know you all spent many hours at the beginning of the year and end of last year going through all of the applications that came in for Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tonight's progress report is a combination of all of those recipients and a brief update of where they all are at. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it's pretty extensive. They're all doing a lot of different things with their projects and activities, but I'll go through them alphabetically. African American Resource Center at Booker has expended just under $9,000 as of today. They've hired 3 youth staff who are trained in trauma, CPR, working on recreation and programming. They did have a little bit of a program delayed start, but they're now on track. Activities that they're doing include STEM, kite making, field trips. They're also doing senior programming. They've had an increase in middle school youth enrollment especially. They are working on food programming and lunch delivery. And their next up activity is a growth mindset activity. With Black Hawk Learning Center, I don't believe I included them. I got their report a little late, but so that is now included. So they received 10 grand, have spent quite a bit of that. They're still gathering all of their expense documentation for me to continue going through. They've cleaned out and gutted the classroom, acquired some items for that for their learning library. They've sorted through materials, figuring out some labor issues that they encountered, and they're also focusing on spending towards computers, furniture, and books. They've seen that the kids are showing an increased interest in learning and the parents are much more engaged. Their next step is to finalize the setup of their learning library and to continue expanding to younger children. For the Boys and Girls Club, they have fully expended their $10,000. With that, this was their academic success tutoring program. They served over 250 youth, exceeded at least an hour a month to 2.25 hours a month for each. They've seen a 60% improvement in reading and a 73% improvement in math. They did not have any delays with their programming and expended all funds, like I mentioned, and are now seeking additional funding to continue that program. The Boy Scouts Black Hawk Area Council also received $10,000. They've had a little bit of a slow start, but are moving along. They've spent just under $1,000, but they have plenty of time to finish expending that. They launched a scout reach at Kenrock, 16 families engaged, and they had 5 new volunteers trained. They've ordered uniforms, which has boosted morale and a sense of belonging among the students participating. One setback that they had was at Lewis Lemon, a lack of administrative follow-through, so they're partnering with the Rockford Park District to coordinate with that. And then they're going to be continuing with summer planning and a fall expansion. On to Bridges to Prosperity of Northern Illinois. They received $50,000. So far, they've expended just over $14,000 of that. They've conducted at multiple sites their Getting Ahead classes. They are planning fall classes at several new sites, including Whitehead and with the city of Rockford. Funds used have gone towards staff, stipends, workbooks. They've held 1 graduation ceremony and are expecting to hold more. All right, Brook Road. I believe this had a small update for you. They've had a transition in leadership, so that is a little bit slow going, but again, this was a $50,000 regrow grant. They do have 2 years to expend this. Been in communication with them. I'm excited to see the progress that they're making in implementing those programs, and so they're continuing on with that, and we should see expenses and the peace programs and the peace pop-ups, I should say, start to be scheduled soon. Comprehensive Community Solutions also received $50,000. Their funds have mainly gone towards salaries and benefits for their alpha programming. They did hire an alpha coordinator. They have seen an increase in attendance as well as community participation, and so far they have not had any delays. They're continuing to plan more life skills classes, workshops, and service projects. City Foundation with the Early Birds program, I'm excited they did expend all of their funds. That was $10,000. They delivered 136 hours of workshops. 12 students completed the program. They had 100% positive feedback. 91.6% reported real-world application to what they were learning. The mentorship included 14 K through 5 students. The school district launched a social work pathway inspired by the program, which is a huge success. And up next, they're developing a career and college readiness workshop. Continuing on, Club 800 for the Financial Literacy 101. They received $10,000 for regrow. They've completed 1 full session with 16 students and have 2 more literacy sessions planned. For the pre and post test scores, it improved from 62% up to 76% for financial literacy. He pivoted from 4 smaller classes to 3 larger ones, and has a new partnership with Members Alliance Credit Union, and in the fall is looking to host 2 more sessions and working on recruiting students for that program. To date, he's expended about half of the grant. The Greater Rockford Music Academy is working on submitting more of their expense documentation, but they launched on June 23rd officially and enrolled 28 students from zip codes 61101 and 61102. They hired local staff and a chef, providing meals and music instruction. They've had a high attendance and positive community impact. And then up next, they will be working on their summer program and planning for the fall and family events. Yes?
Just one quick question. What was the amount for that grant?
I'm sorry, for Greater Rockford Music Academy, $10,000. Yes. Yeah. Next, we have the Music Academy of Rockford, and this is their program at Constance Lane Elementary. Music Academy received $50,000. They're preparing for fall after-school programs, and 30 instruments have been purchased. Staff has mostly been hired for this, and they are still seeking a cello teacher. The community enthusiasm has definitely been growing. They say they've been seeing that. The challenges they've encountered have just been finding the ideal faculty for the program, example, the cello teacher, if you know anyone. No. Next, they're working to finalize training, host a summer camp through August 4th through the 8th, and then launch their program on September 8th. To date, they've spent just over $8,600 of their $50,000. Nearing the end, we're at Patriots Gateway, who received $100,000 in that Tier 2 grant. They hired a literacy coordinator. They have moved the library and launched their summer camp program. They've had 32 youth engaged. 5 teen park players have been employed. Their reading assessments are underway, and the database setup has been delayed, unfortunately, but they're hoping to move through that. Up next, they will be working on their field trips, leadership talks, and basketball tournaments. Ray's has their human trafficking prevention program. They received $10,000. So far have expended just under $1,000 of that. Their youth prevention program was implemented with 94 youth trained. They've developed an adult curriculum called Better Way for jail implementation. They're currently preparing facilitator training in the fall, and they are awaiting a jail rollout, ongoing youth training, and partner engagement. RAMP received $10,000. As of yet, they have not expended any of the funds, but they have plans to expend those in the fall, so they're well on their way. So far, what they have done is they've served 89 youth in Winnebago County, 40 in Rockford, and marked an increase from prior year of engagement. And up next, they'll be working on updating materials and expanding their employer connections and growing outreach.
Can I ask a question on
Yes.
that? Do we know that those outcomes are actually tied to the funding? So they have great outcomes here, but they've not spent any of the dollars that we gave them.
So this report, theirs would not be for the funding. It's just more of an overview of the type of program that they do and what we, I think, can expect in the fall.
Eric? Oh, sorry. Just a reminder, when RAMP wrote its grant, they did write for a percentage of a larger program. So this grant contributed, and so in that grant ask, they said it would be just a percentage of the work that they're doing. But so the outcomes are showing that program has been started, and that they are starting to achieve more with it, and that the $10,000 will carry them through the fall then, because we were a percentage of it.
That's right. Perfect.
Brother Chair, point of clarity. When we talked about the $10,000, particularly the $10,000 grant, those were quick deploy grants, which meant that it should have been done right then. Those were grants that were awarded based upon fulfilling their goal quickly. The 50 and the other grants were those that took a year and 2 years to do. So I just need to know clarity when it was approved. These were the $10,000 particularly were for quick deploy grants for individuals that are ready to run right then and maximize on that money. So I'm kind of confused with the monies not being spent as they were approved.
So, go ahead. Okay, so the Tier 1 is under a 1-year time frame, and the Tier 2 is a 1 to 2 year time frame for that. Did you want to add?
Yeah, so to your point about quick deployment, so that is true, but it is a year, right? So they do have up to a year. Some of what happens there is like a program like this. They start the activity. I'm just going to use RAMP as an example. Is one of the ones that's taking a little bit longer. We'll probably take more like the year to do it. We're receiving multiple funds to do that one program. Our $10,000 was to increase the percentage they were serving, but they were going to be doing it with other grants. They have to then, over the year, which grant has to be expended first. And as a city, because we want the program with RAMP, if they have, sometimes your other grant funders require some other things faster. And we, as a city, we're local, we want that organization successful, right? So if a different grant is requiring something out of the gate, even though this is a quick deployment grant, we still give them the full year because we still want that successful program. You guys voted for it, we still want it successful. As much as possible, like some of the choices that we made buying equipment for Rockford Barbell or all these sorts of things. Those are things, when we were talking about it as a group, that obviously is going to happen quicker. And it's so concrete, and you can have it. Like, it's just, the receipt is the receipt, right? When we fund something like RAMP, and there's a couple other ones in there, and it's a program that we're taking a percentage and trying to increase the participation a little bit with our portion. Again, we have control over our money, so we can give them a little bit of flexibility to make sure the funding sources that don't give them flexibility still come into Rockford and still get used.
This is not my first time around this track. The first time that we did it, it was very explicit that the $10,000 was a quick deploy grant for programs that were ready to move now. If you're changing it, then that needs to be outlined, because in the first time that we did it, it was very clear that it was a $10,000 quick deploy grant for individuals that were ready to move forward. And we had several applications that we looked at based upon them moving quickly. And so if it changed, that's fine. We just need to make sure that it's clear that the quick deploy $10,000 grant is, you have up to a year to spend it. That's all on that.
Yeah, it's, to be honest, I get what you're saying. So let's absolutely consider that when we're doing the next discussion and make sure that you all are comfortable with how we're doing that. I can confidently tell you that this was our second round of funding. Our first round of funding, several of the $10,000 grants took the full year. The quick deployment name was in it, but the grant agreements, and again, this team wasn't necessarily part of that either, but we modeled and did the same thing in year 2 that was done year 1. And Jocelyn had to finish up the expenditure reports for year 1, and several of the groups, like Conscious Coaching and some others, took every bit of that year to get that $10,000 spent. So we didn't change anything about the grant, but we can, in the future, if now we've done 2 rounds, if this is really not hitting the expectation for what you all wanted to do with this and what you'd like to recommend to City Council, we just have to be more purposeful about, it's called quick deployment. In nonprofit world, 1 year is quick deployment. So if we want something different, we're gonna have to define that a little differently.
That's fine. Also, what I don't want to do is, I don't want to approve anything in the horseshoe and not see what's going on behind the scenes. So if that's the case and you all are writing those documents, we need to see those documents so that we can actually have clarity on what's going on. Because after we come to this session and we're approving it based upon quick deployment, if it's not clearly identified or defined what quick deployment is, because again, the first time that we did it, quick deployment was ready to move quickly. And that's literally what the discussion was about, that they were ready to move quickly to do X, Y, and Z. I do know an individual that was in the 13th Ward that wanted to do something to beautify the street, to do that. And it was something because it was a quick deployment. It was nothing about the program. It was just something to do something real quick. So again, if we're going to approve it in session, whatever's going on behind the scenes in relation, and I'm not saying anything bad, I'm just saying whatever you all are doing with the agreements and all of that, we should be able to look at those agreements to see that as well.
Sure. Okay, I can take that note and we can make sure that happens. I would like to also just though say, Jocelyn doing this today is part of our being more transparent with you on what's happening. So I do want to say, thank Jocelyn for making this step, because this reporting was not done in round 1. So she has done a great job of making sure, it takes a lot to wrangle and get this information from people. So we've been trying to make sure we get a report to you. So now we're getting good feedback from you, right? This is great interaction. Now we're learning some things. So thank you for Jocelyn, and thank you for Reverend Martin for bringing that up.
I'd like to push back on your pushback a little bit here, though, because if you read this report on RAMP, they started 1 January. So they were ready to go, and they went. They may not have billed the city for it yet, but they quick deployed in accordance with their plan.
But if we do go back to when we did it a year ago, one of the things that was discussed was it might have been a startup, or remember we were keeping some.
They were pretty much all startups last year. We did this is new ground.
But we were keeping some of the bigger ones that had already were established away from the 10,000 because we were trying to focus on new startups or new non-for-profits. So that's really what the 10,000 was supposed. So that's why that quick deploy came in, because they were ready and willing to get started. So I understand what you're saying also, but at the same time, I believe that that was one of the things. And I know RAMP is a bigger agency, so $10,000, I'm not saying it was not going to help. Just like Eric said, it was supposed to be something that was started. So going back to what Pastor Martin did say, was did we take away from somebody else who maybe could have started something and had a quick idea and was ready of gardening? So just keeping that on.
It's the paradox of the Regrow grant program, in that council wants us to prioritize sustainable programs, but if you give it to a new startup and it's $10,000, it's guaranteed to not be sustainable.
But that's not the original purpose of the Regro grant. The Regro grant originally, because again, this ain't my first time around this track. The Regro grant was established particularly for mom and pops organizations that could not do it. It was not open for the larger community of organizations. It was literally for organizations that could not have a grant writer and all of that, and that we would take a look at it. When it came down to the quick deploy grants, the $10,000 grants, we literally held back. We probably blocked grants because it was our thought that the quick deploy grants would be for individuals that were startups that was ready to move right now at day one. Matter of fact, you were the chair, Brother Todd, when it came. It was literally starting at day one, they were ready to move to spend the money. And so all I'm saying is if there was a change from year one to year two, it should be clear. Also, I'm saying that whatever happens with the agreements after we approve it, the contract should come back to us so that we know what is literally going on with these programs. Thank you.
Could I have a point of clarification in terms of what kind of support is available to these organizations as they run into problems? One of these reports referred to labor issues, labor conflicts. You know, the city is vast and has a lot of staff capability, resources, and perhaps there might be some support available. I don't know to what extent we're proactive or reactive, or Jocelyn, I know this is your area, so maybe you could clarify what we do. Do we reach out? Do we wait for them to reach out? What?
I do reach out monthly, mainly to gather expenses, and it's a brief check-in. So I have used that as the opportunity or the open door for them to let us know of any issues, but I can certainly be a little more upfront on that.
Yeah, that would be great. And then another real quick question, and maybe I'm reading it wrong and not being a careful enough reader, but is there any point at this questionnaire that we reflect what they promised?
Right.
And I don't know, am I missing it somewhere in here?
So this was more of an opportunity to, and I'll 2 points. So this was more of an opportunity for them to provide it as they saw, but I'm also curious at the end of this, we'll finish going through these, but then I would definitely love to know what metrics you would like to hear in these reports. What would you actually prefer they submit on? Maybe it's them reporting to you instead of me, anything like that. So we can certainly talk about that to enhance that. Yeah.
Also, and I don't know if this is for you or Director City, do we now have any type of pop-up inspections on all of the organizations that have received the grant? So I know that we're receiving documentation. I know we have a few pictures, and I know we have some of their achievements, but do we have anyone that's going to these organizations to do pop-up inspections just to see what's going on, talk with the executive directors and et cetera, to see in regards to the funds, to make sure that it's being appropriated and used properly?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, so right now we have what Jocelyn said, the monthly check-in, and we're primarily administering the grant. If we were wanting to build capacity and spend more time with the partners in a different way, that would have to be a policy decision made by City Council. We're not currently using funds we do not use regrow funds to fund our staffing, right, around this. So if we were to increase what we were requiring from our staffing around these grants, City Council would have to engage with that and decide what funding would pay for that staff.
Again, I'm sorry you all tonight, but all I'm saying is this is for accountability issues. And so if we're giving out tax funders money to do programs, I think it's worth the accountability of doing inspections. Any organization that you go through, if you're getting grant money, you're going to have pop-ups. You're going to have it from the health department. You're going to have it from whatever department. I think that we as a city, if we're saying that we're giving out this much money, it has to be more than some paper documents to see that the work is being done. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying that if we're giving out this much money and we are approving this much money, there should be something in the budget for a person to come to do some level of inspection to make sure that if the address is 2209, it's 2209. So I'm from Chicago. We had an individual that got almost $4-point-something million and had the address at an abandoned building, and he's now going to jail for misappropriation of funds. So if we're looking at this, we need to make sure that if we're approving these programs, that we make sure that they're doing what they said, even though it's on paper. Anybody, ChatGPT can make this whole program look real good. Correct. So I don't want ChatGPT. I want to see someone to give a physical accounting of what's going on in these
100%. Sorry, really quick, just to answer that. 100% get what you're driving at. I'll answer it two ways. First, so when it comes to the financial component of it, we ask for significant, we have a documentation list. Because we're government, we do a little more on that regulatory to make sure that we're collecting and making sure they spent it on what they said they spent it on, right? So that is an audit process that does require some administrative burden for these nonprofits. So I just wanted to keep in mind, it's not like we're just saying, did you do it, and checking a box, right? They are turning in documentation on the expenses. For your point, though, about what it produced or the outcomes or these reports and how we're verifying it, again, so I managed a nonprofit for a long period of time. For most nonprofit budgets, $10,000 is not a lot, right? So creating a lot of process for them where they now are, if we do more to them to make $10,000 expenditure hard, it stands in the way of especially the grassroots startup people from getting started. I'd rather be I'd rather be having the conversation the other way you guys are framing it, which is, should we be staffing capacity building and understanding along the way, than having some sort of audit on-site checklist thing where I'm just trying to figure out the voice of what you want us to do. And I'd rather, because for what I think you ultimately want, and happy to pass on a recommendation from the CRC for the City Council to consider staffing that would address our community organizations and help them build to what they're trying to aim for in a way that they become bench strength around us in a whole bigger, greater capacity. This grant, to your point, is well aimed at getting people that are starting out in these conversations started in Rockford and get them their foot underneath them. And with some help, that could really solidify them and get some real good conversation, some longevity. I think we have to build it rather than protect it and come at it.
Could I mention something as well for that? For grant compliance, we've been working through a process for all subrecipients. Sarah's been a key player in that process and all the requirements. One of the things that we are looking to do is provide TA to subrecipients for city grants, and that could expand to regrow recipients. They're not technically a subrecipient, it's a grant program, so they're a direct recipient from the city, but that's something that could expand to them as well. And it's not something that we have completed yet. We're still building out our subrecipient process, but that should be done by this fall. And part of that package is going to be offering TA, because a lot of those subrecipients are smaller agencies. Some are even grassroots agencies. And we know that that's technical assistance. Technical assistance.
Thank you.
Sorry. And we know that that is a barrier for them, and something, for example, we have a subrecipient, very small agency on a grant, a program in the mayor's office, and they got some funds through there. And our grant accountant literally walked them through their first PFR, their periodic financial report, and what they needed to submit, walk them through every single step of the way. So it's not that we won't or can't help. We do when needed, but we would like to offer official technical assistance to those programs. It just hasn't gotten up off the ground yet.
Yeah, I know this commission has requested, particularly when it comes down to the grant writing process, because we do recognize that the upstarts or mom and pops may not have these professional grant writers. So when we started looking at these larger organizations, they have professional grant writers. So it looks more, appealing to the eye. But what I was looking at, and I understand with 10,000, I've run a nonprofit myself, and within 3 weeks I had 5 inspections. So I mean, it's part of the responsibility of being a nonprofit. Not only that, we want to make sure it's not just for the 10,000, it's for the $50,000 and $150,000 that we at least have some eyes on what's really going on. Because again, you can look at documentation and make it look real good, take a couple of pictures and make it shine real good, but at least to have that dialogue, I should say, with the organization, and just to see it, and just to put your eyes on it. So now we have what we have on paper versus what we have from city staff. And again, I'm sure that the taxpayers would not mind the expense to have someone to do an inspection on the money that they're ultimately given.
Can I get in front of the accountability issue just a little bit as I listen to this? This is my first time doing this with this grant. But what I noticed on the majority of the applications was, from a business planning standpoint, no itemized budget and no functional schedule of how that itemized budget is going to be met. A couple of them had it, and everybody else just said we plan to use it for this. If we're going to have accountability, we need to hold them accountable to what they say they're going to do with the money when they say they're going to do it. And that goes directly to your quick deployment as well. I think we need to be a little more rigid, and professional grant writer or not professional grant writer, if you're asked for a functional schedule of how you're going to spend the money on what, you should be able to provide it. And I noticed that was pretty lacking, and that made it difficult to judge some of these. It made it much easier for the ones that did provide that information.
Really good feedback and conversation. I appreciate it. I have 2 more to get through, and then we can definitely have more conversation or more questions. No, you're fine. No apologies. We have Rockford Barbell, who did complete the grant very quickly with their mobile unit. They have so far served 62 youth across 11 programs, delivering 469 hours. They purchased equipment and vehicle signage. 70% of their youth showed improvement in social emotional skills. And let's see, they have so far faced some outreach hurdles with new schools, but are working to overcome that. And next, they are planning to expand to more schools, partnering with Lincoln Middle School in 25-26. And lastly, we have the Yes Club, which was not included. That was a late report. But they have expended all of their funds for the Speak It, Sing It project, creating 5 music videos and a TV episode. Everything is posted on their website. They used the $10,000 for the professional services and stipends, as they indicated in their grant. They boosted participant confidence and community engagement. They were featured in multiple media sources, including WREX and Northwest Quarterly. And continuing their work, they will do more video production and expand their community and global outreach. And like I said, that was a $10,000. So there were 10 $10,000 Tier 1 regrows, 4 $50,000, and 2 $100,000. So, any more questions?
Thank you for a great job.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, so that brings us then, with the Regro report being done, that brings us to commissioners' reports. Do any commissioners have a report? I will just say, first of all, acknowledge that this month is Disability Pride Month, all of July. July 26th is the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I guess I would challenge you all as commissioners to be thinking about, for the next few days of the month, what are ways that the work that you're doing has a positive impact on folks with disabilities, and really we do some outreach to educate those folks that you are serving on what the importance of disability pride is, and what the ADA means for 1 in 4 individuals in our country.
At the risk of being shouted down, I do have one comment. Just one. Today, the city of Rockford had a social media post about the rejection rate in recycling, which is way up, and it's at 50%. So 50% of the materials that are in our big new containers go all the way to, it's not Dundee, but I think it's Plainfield, to a materials recovery facility there. And the material that is rejected then comes back to our landfill, which has less than 10 years before it has reached capacity. And then our city residents are going to be in a bad way and very hurt in terms of what it's going to cost us to ship our garbage somewhere else, because the county chairman is on record saying he's not going to cite another landfill in our. So I think I'm with Sustain Rockford. That's an organization I spend a lot of time with, so I will be upfront about that. But I also believe that this is a topic of utmost city importance, and I encourage us. I know we're looking at it. I know we have a city staff member who is looking at this, but I think we need to spend, as a city, a lot of time building awareness on recycling, because every bit of those rejected materials that are going into our landfill just swallows up less. We have less space in that landfill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' reports? Anything from city staff? Alderman Bell?
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman. Really quick, just want to ask, I see here to be determined on the September meeting for you all's commission. Is that still accurate? Is there a topic being discussed in September on paper yet, or is that still up for discussion?
I believe we have decided, I think that's an outdated copy, I apologize. We're going to be inviting the Mental Health Board and the programs funded by the Mental Health Board here at the city, so you all can hear from them as well.
And then I'd say in November as well. Is that accurate?
That one is to be determined.
Cool. I would ask this commission to maybe have a discussion on including food insecurity for the November discussion. City Council on Monday actually passed a framework and approved a framework to move forward in addressing food insecurity in our community. I'm a huge advocate for addressing and providing food access to underserved communities and neighborhoods in this city. I would ask, again, this commission to maybe look at bringing in partners from the Food Insecurity Task Force, in which I have the opportunity of meeting with them every month. And so reach out to me. I can reach out to you all, maybe Brother Chair, to maybe move that forward. So thank you.
All right. There's no other commissioners' reports. We are at the end of our